I can hear you there, Coach.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Got defensive coordinator Tyson Summers on with us. Got questions? Throw them in the chat area, or excuse me, throw your name in the chat area, and I will call on you. So the first one, Tyson's going to come from Adam Munster Tiger, Buff Stampede.
Hi, Coach. With a lot of players returning on defense, does that allow you to throw more at the players in 2020, or because of the pandemic, have you kind of had to continue to dial back in terms of the scheme and its complexities?
I lost you at the end, Adam, but I'm gonna try to answer the question. I think that can you hear me?
I can. Yep.
Y'all are frozen on me.
Can you hear us?
Can you not hear us, Coach?
Yes, I can hear you about once every 10 seconds.
Oh, you froze there. Adam, ask your question again.
Yeah, Coach, I was just asking you, with a lot of returning players on defense, are you able to throw more at them in 2020, or because of the pandemic, has that kind of made you have to continue to kind of dial back the complexities of your scheme?
All right. I still barely hear you, but I think I know the question that you asked me. Okay, Adam. All right. We are really trying hard to just focus on the details. So within that, like we talked about before, yes, we've tried to be able to cut back on our playbook a tremendous amount. I think we took great advantage of our offseason and obviously some of the challenges that COVID created. We were really able to maximize that. We spent a tremendous amount of time as a staff being able to work together and be able to have meetings with our players. Coach Durrell had a fantastic schedule for us, and I think we've got an opportunity to have a good defense this year. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of returning guys. We're still really young, particularly in the secondary. We're still really, really young, but we do have a lot more experience. We have a lot more confidence.
And Brian Howell, Boulder Cameron.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Curious with an offensive head coach now, if this defense is kind of more a Tyson Summers defense than it was last year, maybe a Summer/Tucker defense.
Well, we're really excited about what the defense that we have in place, certainly. And, I think that, obviously the opportunity to be able to be here with Coach Durrell and in the defensive scheme that we've got up, it's not Tyson Summers by any stretch. It's really all of us. We've got a fantastic defensive staff, and being able to keep, really intelligent guys like Brian Michalowski, Brian Cook, and being able to have guys like William Vallejos, for a year or two is really, really important. But you've got great ideas and people with fantastic resumes, from Chris Wilson, from Demetrius Martin, and obviously Brett Maxey. So it's a combination of our entire defensive staff and what we're trying to put together. And I think our staff's doing a great job of being able to bond with our players. And so I think we're heading in the right direction.
Let's go to Henry Chisholm from DNVR.
Hey, Coach, we've talked to a couple of the defensive linemen who've really enjoyed their change from the 2-gap to the 1-gap technique. I'm wondering why you guys decided to make that change, and also whether you have seen positive results from that change so far in practice.
Well, I heard about half of every sixth word that you said, but I think you asked about the defensive line. We got a lot of players that are playing well. We've got a lot of numbers at those spots to be able to help us. We've been able to have an opportunity to bring Chris Wilson in, and he and I've spent a lot of time together being able to talk about what we want our fundamentals and our techniques to be. And I think our players have been really excited about, what we've been able to do and what Coach Wilson's doing with that group right now.
Justin Guerrero, CU Sports Nation.
Morning, Coach. You noted minutes ago that your secondary is young, and certainly on the other side of that coin, your front seven really is not. A lot of returning veterans, a lot of depth on the D line, your linebacking crew. How strong has your front seven looked now that you guys are getting into pads, progressing throughout progress? And overall, what is your impression of those two position groups, and how can maybe they alleviate some pressure off of your young secondary?
Well, obviously having, Mustafa back and having Terrence back and having Jalen, those are really the three guys that were our primary starters last year, and being able to build depth off of that. We had a lot of young guys get in and have an opportunity to play at different points in the year. And in big games, even the Oregon game, you've seen a number of young defensive linemen have an opportunity to play. The outside linebacker group is a very inexperienced group. The guys that are playing as outside backers and defensive ends in our system. You've really got Carson and you've got Jamar and you've got Joshka, and then after that you've got a lot of new guys in our system, new guys to the defense, and new guys that are here at CU. So that's a pretty inexperienced group, truthfully. And then at inside backer, you got guys that have played a lot of ball in your first three, obviously between Nate and Akil and John. And after that, we're looking to be able to build depth within the guys that we have. But they bought into the coaching and the system that we're running, and they've all done a nice job at this point in time, continuing to try to make plays and opportunities that they've gotten.
Back to Brian Howell.
Hey, Coach, I know you've coached linebackers before, but can you talk about the shift for you over to the linebackers? And also, you talked a little bit about it there, but can you expound a little bit on some of that depth at the inside linebacker position?
Sure. Well, I've always said, if you randomly asked me at any point in my career what I coached, I would tell you linebackers. And there've been 100 times where I was coaching the secondary when I told somebody I was coaching the linebacker. So if you cut me open, that's really what I feel like I am. And I've really enjoyed being back with that group. It was a great experience being able to go back to the secondary for a number of years over the last 7 or 8 years. But I really feel like that's where my comfort level is, and I feel like that's where I can also coordinate the best from. And so I'm excited about the opportunity we've got. We've got a fantastic group of young men, like we talked about earlier, between Nate and Akil and John being back in year 2, understanding the system. And again, we've made some adjustments where we feel like those guys have a better chance to be able to make plays and have a better chance to be able to help us in some of the pass coverage things that we're asking them to do. But again, we're looking for depth after that. And, you've got a lot of guys that are in that group with Quinn Perry and Marvin Ham and Alec Bell that are kind of back. Alec's a guy that about halfway through the season last year, he's a local kid that we moved to inside linebacker. And you've got a really impressive new guy with Mr. Williams. And Ray Robinson is obviously a guy that's been able to help us, a guy that's got a lot of length and a guy that can run. And so we're looking for him to be able to build some support in that room as well.
And one more from Justin Guerrera.
Coach, I've got kind of a multi-part question for you just based on Saturday's scrimmage. Part number one, just after it ended, what was your immediate evaluation of how your defense performed? Number two, maybe cutting the film, watching things over again on tape. Did that enhance or change your evaluation at all? And number three, were there any individual players within your defense that you thought stuck out or made some nice plays?
Okay. The first thing that jumped out to me is what I've noticed really, not just in the scrimmage, but through our first 8 or 9 practices, which is a large amount of growth and maturity from our players and guys that simple things last year from fundamentals that, took a lot of stress and took a lot of time and a lot of details for us to get. They're doing very naturally. I think they're running to the ball, and I think that we are, doing a nice job, particularly in the secondary, of closing down some lanes and being able to prevent some explosives in there. And so those first thing that jumped out to me. Second thing is we've got to work hard at some of our mechanics, our game day mechanics, that don't always necessarily get practiced in your first 7 days. And so I thought that was good for us to be able to have. Again, we are first year staff together. And so you've got new guys in the headset here, you got new guys in the box there. So that was an experience we need to continue to work. As I went back and watched the film, I saw a lot of guys with the ability to make plays, and you were able to see guys that were in position to make plays, and they did it. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And I know Neil's got his background done out, so I can't see his face here. But Neil's asked me in the background, a couple different times about tackling, and so one of the things that I was, really excited about was how we tackled in the game. I thought we did a nice job with that, and we talked about it earlier. If we're really young in the secondary, we're asking a lot of true sophomores, true freshmen to step up and play for us fast. And I thought they did a nice job of tackling on the back end. And then I'm not very smart, Justin, so you're going to have to ask me the third question one more time.
Yeah, just if anyone individually, whether it be some of your younger guys, some of your vets, were there any individual performances that were of particular note to you for the scrimmage?
Well, the beauty of this group right now is it's a very unselfish group. We've talked about wanting to be an elite defense. and trying to take our game up to a new level. And so right now, you know, we're really trying to talk about the accomplishments we've had as a defense and controlling what we can control. And so we're trying to take the selfishness out. So don't add it into our stuff, okay, Justin? But yes, there were a lot of players made a lot of plays, and I think if you go through and you're able to look at tackles for losses, sacks, things like that, you'll be able to see which guys were able to play fast. And again, I've been really, really proud. I think that both Brett Maxey and Demetrius Martin have done a fantastic job with a very young secondary. And I think that they've really guided them. And I think that our players have really taken hold of the coaching they've got. Y'all mentioned earlier the defensive line with Chris Wilson and what he's been able to provide for us. So we've got a lot of guys that are playing well at the moment. We've got to play well collectively. And that's really our goal overall, to be able to take our entire defense and move it up. Neil, I see why you wanted to make sure you had it blacked out. You're over there trying to.
I was just going to say, see why you're not missing anything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We've been kidding him all month that he has yet to unpack that box that's behind him.
Yeah, well, at least he's got his bike. You got about 2 more weeks before it starts snowing.
Okay, since we've got Darian Rakestraw coming on next, could you make a few comments about what Darian's meant with his senior leadership?
Sure. Darian's been great. You know, he's been great. And I can remember last year about this time we were going through and we were talking about depth. And I know he had played a little bit the year prior. And there were a lot of question marks. And he played as solid as you could play the last really 5 or 6 games for us. He really did. Made a lot of outstanding plays. He's a big reason for our turnaround in the last 3 or 4 games of the season. His communication, his confidence, and the high level of play that he had. You know, the secondary, like you said, is so young, but he's they're funny. They all call him old man in the room all the time, and he's the guy that gets them lined up. He's the guy that communicates with them. He's been an example for them, and has done a great job with his leadership. He's one of my favorite guys, and obviously having been his position coach last year, he's special to me for a lot of different reasons. But he's playing at a high level, communicating well, and I'm really proud of everything he's done to this point in time.
Great, thanks, Coach. Hey, was the smoke any kind of factor today, or is that why your voice is kind of gravelly?
I'm sorry, one more time, Dave.
Was the smoke a factor for practice, or did it just make your voice gravelly?
I didn't notice any smoke. That's just me usually this time of year.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
All right, y'all have a great one. Appreciate y'all.